Malawi, hold on tight, because today's episode is not just another boring political monologue. It's a movie with full drama, emotion, and a tear or two. Picture this: a district commissioner, emotional, fearless, standing before the camera saying the words no one expected. Chonde DPP Imvani Madandaulo Anga. Please, DPP, hear my complaints. And when that video hit the airwaves, social media exploded. Facebook groups went wild, WhatsApp groups on fire, and even the local barbershops had only one topic: Chonde DC watu Walira Lero. Today we unpack it all. What triggered the DC's public outburst, what Bon Kalindo had to do with it, why the DPP is in the hot seat again, and most importantly, what this moment means for governance and accountability in Malawi. Welcome to @GlobalPulse News, the home of fearless, witty, and factual breakdowns, where we don't just tell stories, we make sense of them with style. Let's begin right where it all went viral: Lilongwe, Malawi's political heartbeat. The day started like any other Friday. Press briefings here, district meetings there, journalists recording their usual footage. But then, bam! Out of nowhere, the DC steps up to the podium, his face serious, voice trembling slightly, and then drops the bombshell. Chonde DPP Imvani Madandaulo Anga. The room goes silent. Even the microphone stopped crackling. You could feel the tension cutting through the air like a knife slicing seema. This was not your typical government official addressing issue speech. Nah, this was raw emotion mixed with frustration, soaked in the reality of how governance often fails at the grassroots. The DC explained that he had been raising concerns for months about lack of support, political interference, unfulfilled promises to the people, and the widening gap between district offices and party structures. He said in Chichewa, "I have been loyal, but loyalty without listening is just slavery." Ooh, those words, they hit hard. Even the DPP officials sitting there didn't know whether to clap or hide. Some nervously shuffled their papers. Bon Kalindo, who was present nearby, looked both shocked and entertained, because if you know Bon Kalindo, you know he thrives where controversy meets courage. The emotional display of the DC crying, that is, Walira Mokweza, wasn't weakness, it was symbolic. It represented the frustration of countless local administrators who feel unseen and unheard. For once, someone in authority said what everyone else whispers at night. And here's where the genius twist lies. In Malawi, we often say, "Kulira sikuti wachepa mfumvu, dikisoni cha mtima." Crying doesn't mean you're weak, it's a cry of the heart. That's exactly what the DC did, and in so doing, he opened a national conversation that no one can ignore anymore. But wait, if that's how it started, what exactly triggered such a bold and emotional move? Let's dive into the root cause, the grievances that turned into fireworks. Now, every explosion starts with a spark, and this one, it's years in the making. According to insiders, the DC's complaints weren't personal, they were systemic. He cited delayed funds for local projects, interference from party officials who want to control everything, and a lack of accountability from senior political figures. You see, when local leaders are forced to execute projects without resources, it's like telling someone to cook nsima without maize flour. Impossible. Como wena akuyemba kezera kudia. The DC also mentioned compensation issues. Villagers waiting years after losing their land to government projects, still unpaid. He mentioned how local councils are blamed for things they can't fix, while top officials get the praise. The man was clearly tired of being a punching bag. Then came the kicker. Some of us serve not for party, but for people. But when people's cries are ignored, we carry their pain. Boom! That line deserves to be engraved on Parliament's walls. Bon Kalindo, known for his outspoken activism, immediately amplified the speech on his platforms. Within hours, hashtags like DC Walira Mokweza and Chonde DPP Imvani Madandaulo Anga trended across Malawian Facebook and TikTok. Citizens applauded the bravery, calling it the cry of the common man through the mouth of a leader. And meanwhile, DPP insiders downplayed it and said it was just emotion, not policy. But you and I know that in Malawi, emotion is how truth travels faster than official memos. And the irony, the DC didn't insult anyone. He simply begged to be heard. But sometimes, a plea spoken publicly shakes power more than 1,000 quiet complaints filed in dusty offices. Transition. So now we understand the grievances, but who else got caught in the storm? And what's Bon Kalindo's role in fanning or focusing this fire?
Aha! Here comes the man who can turn any political whisper into a national thunderstorm, Bon Kalindo, a.k.a. Mr. Fearless. Kalindo, the activist and politician with a reputation for mixing truth and trouble like a perfect cocktail, wasted no time stepping into the story. He took to the mic saying, "If our DC is crying, then Malawi is bleeding." That line went viral, faster than you could say, "Mwava Bwanji." For years, Bon Kalindo has positioned himself as a voice for the voiceless, often clashing with both ruling and opposition figures. When he backed the DC statement, it gave the story national visibility. Suddenly, what was a district matter became a national crisis. He demanded that the DPP leadership meet the DC and other district heads to hear their complaints directly, calling out what he called a culture of neglecting local heroes. Critics say Bon Kalindo was just using the moment to revive his political relevance, but even his opponents admitted that he speaks truths wrapped in fire. One journalist wrote, "If Bon Kalindo were a radio station, the whole nation would tune in." His involvement turned a governance complaint into a people's movement. The story flooded radio talk shows. Callers from Balaka to Karanga poured in with their own grievances. Suddenly, the DC wasn't alone. He was a symbol of many unheard voices. But let's pause. Beneath all the noise and hashtags, what does this moment actually mean for governance, transparency, and accountability in Malawi? Let's decode the real implications. This entire saga, emotional as it may be, exposes a truth deeper than politics, the disconnect between leadership and those serving at the grassroots. For decades, Malawian governance has wrestled with one question: who listens to whom? Politicians claim to represent people, yet those working closest to communities, DCs, chiefs, ward councilors, often have their voices muted by political control. The DC's public plea shows how administrative frustration can build when politics takes center stage. When everything becomes a partisan competition, development stalls. Instead of progress, we get paralysis. Experts from The Nation and Times Malawi agree that this incident should be a wake-up call. It's not about embarrassment, it's about rethinking how government structures communicate. If DPP, or any party, wants to prove it listens, this is their chance, because the people are watching. There's also the public reaction angle. Malawians are tired of leaders who wait for elections to listen. This moment reminded everyone that accountability isn't a seasonal promise, it's a daily responsibility. And let's not forget, the DC's bravery has inspired others. Already, whispers from other districts suggest that more officers might soon speak out about local-level frustrations. The DC Walira moment might just become a movement. But what comes next? Will this cry lead to reform or retaliation? Let's weigh the possible futures, because every loud truth shakes something loose. 3 roads now stand ahead, and Malawi's political compass is spinning. Option 1, reform. In the best-case scenario, the DPP leadership steps up, sits down with the DC, listens, and acts. They could launch internal reviews, address delayed funding, and rebuild trust with district offices. That would show maturity and signal that leadership is about listening, not silencing. Option 2, retaliation. But we know how politics can twist. Instead of addressing the issues, the system might punish the messenger. Transfers, disciplinary actions, quiet demotions. If that happens, it would prove that fear still rules where openness should lead. Option 3, real change from the people. Now this one, it's the most powerful. The DC's outcry has already awakened citizens. People now realize that silence only fuels corruption. If the public keeps talking, keeps questioning, keeps demanding, that's how real reform begins. One woman from Machinga said on a radio call-in, "The DC Walira for all of us. Now we must speak too." That's the spirit Malawi needs, not waiting for permission to hold leaders accountable. The story isn't over. In fact, it's only begun. The DC's tears weren't a breakdown. They were a breakthrough. They washed away the fear and revealed the frustration of a nation that still believes it deserves better. So, before we close, let's talk about what you can do, because news without action is just noise. So now that you've heard it all, the tears, the truth, the tension, what's next? Simple. Speak up. Share. Stay alert. If you believe Malawi deserves leadership that listens, then be part of the conversation. Drop a comment below. Do you think the DC's bold move will bring real change or just another political cover-up? Fire subscribe at Global Pulse News, ring the bell, and join our growing community of smart, bold viewers who refuse to be silent spectators. And hey, for fun and family learning, check out our sister channels at Sparkling Kids and Rayma Fatma. Let's grow our YouTube family bigger, better, and stronger. Show your love and support. Be part of the Pulse. This is at Global Pulse News, where courage meets clarity, and every story finds its pulse.